the town hall unless otherwise posted. Citizens wishing to be listed on the select board's agenda should notify the town hall before 12 p.m. on the Friday before the scheduled meeting. Alternate members are always needed to fill positions on the zoning and planning board. If interested, please submit a letter of intent to the Plymouth Selectboard's office, 6 Post Office Square, Plymouth, New Hampshire, 03264. Appointments. Steve.
Thank you. The university would like to come before the board tonight and request a police appointment. We have identified an applicant, we've conducted a background investigation, and we've consulted with the Plymouth Police Chief, who has also approved it as well. The gentleman's name is Dennis Rector. He's actually with me. Dennis, if you could just stand up for a minute. Dennis has had a full career in law enforcement. He is a retired member from the Franklin Police Department. He retired back in May. He's in the private sector now. He'd like to re-enter and work in a university setting. We'll be putting him on in a part-time capacity. Dennis is from the Milford area. He has a bachelor's degree. He has an associate's degree in criminal justice. He did some time in the military as a military policeman in the Army Reserves. So if I could make that request of you, I have his appointment right here. Dennis, why don't you come on over if the board has any questions? Let me just introduce you real quickly. This is Mike Ahern.
We met in this?
Kathy. Kelly.
Any
questions?
Well, thank you for your interest in our town.
I appreciate it.
And, I find that, you'd probably really enjoy working in the town of Plymouth and with the students as well and with the
I believe so.
town.
Do you have any questions of us, Dennis, or
No, sir, no.
any comments you would like to make? Or?
No, not at all.
No
Everything I
speech?
get, Jerry's pretty good at keeping me up to speed.
Yeah. Yeah, I talked to Dennis just before the meeting, and I really get a very good impression. I think you'll be a great officer and a good addition to the university and the town. So,
How many years were you in Franklin?
I did right around 6. I ran K-9 for him for about
Nice.
5.5 years.
Yes.
Busy little city.
Sure.
Did you bring your canine with you, or?
No, he's at home. Yeah. He's having a hard time adjusting, but he'll be all right.
Yeah.
He's still pretty young. He was 7.5, or he's 7.5 now, so I probably could have got another year out of him, but it was time to go.
okay. Kathy, did we already accept?
Chief Temporino came to the board at their work
Right.
session 2
Yep.
meetings ago,
So,
and Chief LaFave highly recommended
yes.
hiring Dennis.
So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, and we'll see you around.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
You didn't vote
Yep.
to appoint him yet, though.
Okay.
I make a motion that we appoint him to the University Police Force.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Tell him that he has to come get sworn in. Yes.
Oh, we agreed for him to bring them here.
Yeah.
All right. Steve need that?
Yeah, you sing it.
On the tape.
What's that?
On the tape, those two sound exactly the same.
Oh,
You have to watch their lips.
Go.
did you just insult Brian then, or?
No, not
All right.
Someone say.
Was the
I
other one
sound
Brian?
like,
And, oh, and me?
Are we sound exactly the same?
No, these two
Yeah.
sound, so I have to like really watch
See who's talking.
to see who seconded or who made the motion. Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna start going like this second.
Please don't.
2, 1. Okay. All right.
I did that on purpose, I'll tell you why.
Committee reports. Did you have any, Mike?
Yeah. Yes. So I attended a school board meeting, and I think I already mentioned that one. We had a parking committee meeting last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It was attended by, Frank, you were there. Frank, Brian, Chief LaFave, myself, and we should be ready for a hearing for the new parking fines. Kathy, do you have a copy of those?
Not yet.
Okay, so we should set a time, maybe before we adjourn tonight, for that hearing, which was one of the phases, one of the goals that we wanted to achieve with Phase 1. Scott, the parking enforcement person, has been much more, has been seen a lot more on Main Street. That's good. And we did, with Joe's help, come up with 10 parking spaces in front of the sand shed that we will give out,
Voucher.
what are we calling them? We'll be assigning, giving out parking, I guess vouchers for downtown businesses for their employees to park. So we'll be giving out 10 permits. First come, first serve. I've let Carol Dunn know. She's contacting a lot of the businesses. I said that I would announce it here. And it would be in front of the sand shed. If it's utilized and there is a need supposedly that we keep hearing about, then that would all be full on a regular basis. Chief LaFave will monitor that. And if it is full, like I expect it to be, then we will look at adding more spaces down by this, across from the senior center, which Joe has cleaned up along the tree line and done some erosion control, and has done a great job of fixing it up, that it could be looked at as potential parking. So we went down to the senior center and looked at what Joe had done, and everything's looking good. We also did identify another spot in Plymouth, down by the senior center, that could hold an additional 30 spots, as many as 30 spots. And we've, which thanks to Brian Murphy, just kind of all of a sudden came to him. And so that day, Brian sent out a letter to the Department of Transportation for the railroad. I guess the state has taken that over, and talked to them. And I guess it's called a siding, where there's the main track, and then there's an old track on South Main Street side of the track that is all grown up. The rails are still there, but it looks like it hasn't been used in a couple of decades. Then there's another siding on the river side of the main track, and that is parallel and comes back into the main. And I believe they use that for servicing the railroad tracks, but not on a regular basis. It doesn't appear that it's used on a regular basis. So looks like the state will be sending someone down to look at that, to see whether they need the entire portion of that or only a small portion, which could accommodate, again, a number of spaces for town employees. So we're waiting for that meeting to happen at this point.
Very good. Good news.
Yeah, it is. Brian was, I can't believe, what a great idea to look at that. But it takes being on site
Mm-hmm.
to actually have that blaring at you.
Good job. Good job by the parking committee. Excellent news. Brian?
None.
I didn't have any either. Bill?
So several of us attended the ribbon cutting at the, the Harbor Homes Boulder Point Veteran Housing Project in Plymouth, and there were several notables that were there, and it was quite an event. There was, I don't know, maybe several hundred people that showed up in their tent.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, the overseer of the Veterans Home Initiative said he's rarely, if ever, seen this large group of people, so there was quite a lot of interest.
Yeah, it was.
And I was talking to Kathy Bentwood after that to see what else they might need, and she said simply, in fact, it's over half the capacity right now.
Yes.
And she said basically residents need jobs. So, you know, they're going to be like querying people downtown to see if there might be some jobs available for the people that reside there.
I'm wondering if we couldn't go to the unemployment service, because they have programs where they can put people on for a temporary basis, and the state pays a portion of their wages to see if they, if they're gonna be able to perform the job and do that. And I'm just wondering if we can't do that.
Sure.
I attended that meeting, and we had Senator Hassan and Shaheen there.
Yeah.
And we had a great turnout, and a lot of the people, talked to some of the people that are there now, and they're very appreciative of having a place like that. And I think we can get with Kathy and see what some of the residents need. Maybe get something going from the community to kind of bring them in rather than have them out there in the area. I don't know whether, you take the tour?
Yeah, the facility is beautiful.
Do they have a community room? Or-
They do.
They do?
Yeah, and they have, all the apartments themselves are really, quite nice. And
Yeah.
and there are 30 permanent supportive housing units, and there were 5 that are family, and 15 that, 25, I guess,
Yeah,
that were just single occupancy.
yeah. The others, they had a couple of 2 bedrooms and 1 4-bedroom or 2 4-bedroom. And then they have an on-campus administrator, I guess.
Yep.
Somebody that lives in there.
So anyway, that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
I also had a PERLAC meeting out last Tuesday, and there were several plans that we have to go do site visits on. And we had a planning board meeting last Thursday, and we shared observations that we made of the site visits we did on the Tenny Mountain Highway corridor. And at the meeting itself, there were several PSU students that are involved in planning and Steve Whitman instituted this use of these students, and actually there are 8 total. And what they're going to do are look at several things. One's they're going to propose zoning changes on the Tenny Mountain corridor. They're also looking at recreational corridors as well, and they're going to be mapping walking and biking routes. And theoretically tomorrow they're going to do a walk from the community gardens to Smith Bridge, just to check out what is existing and what can be maybe improved. And all the students are adept at GIS mapping, and ultimately we'll have some good maps of the region, and if we want to request things, we'll have actual detailed products that we can approach funding sources to get money from. And could I also discuss the crosswalk deal? So another thing that was brought to my attention via Facebook is the need, or the possible need, or the desire for signage along the crosswalks. And it started out with an email from Carol Hahn, and several people weighed in on it. And this might be kind of a collaboration between the university and the town, because there may be a need simply to do the university crosswalks. Regardless, we had a brief discussion at our work session, and felt that we needed to discuss this at our next board meeting. So we're going to be inviting both Carol Hahn and Jessica Wixon Shaw to come in and describe the extent of the problem and possible solutions, and maybe we could work through, a collaboration with both the university and the town. And that was pretty much it.
Might we have the university come to that, or just have Carol in first?
We could
Invite Marlon?
Say that again.
have the university here
Invite
as well.
Marlon, some university with Carol
Okay.
and Jessica,
Yeah.
and a couple of university people.
Okay.
Did you want me to invite Carol and Jessica, or, okay, and you'll get
And I'll
Marlon?
send Marlon.
Sure.
Okay.
So I had a comment on that.
Mike?
I don't know, maybe it's not just the sign, maybe there might be other avenues you could look at, because I agree with Carol Hahn that people are just walking into the crosswalk without even thinking, well, they'll have to stop, so they just walk. And I don't know if it's just university kids or if it's town employees, but I think the discussion should not just be something on the road, but maybe there's other alternatives. Question for you, Bill, when you were talking with Steve Whitman, was there any talk about bike trails?
Yep.
Is that something that they're looking at?
Yes.
Because that sounds great if that's the
Bike
case.
trails and also walking paths as well.
Beautiful. What a great resource we have in the community that Steve Whitman is available and looking out for the best interest of the town, so
I
good.
agree, yeah. Yeah, it looks like I got one more thing, too.
All right, Bill.
So right on this. So I'm supposed to provide an update on LRPC and New Hampshire DOT 10-year plan. There's been, actually, Paul Freitas described at our last meeting disappointment with DOT pushing out our repaving of Highland Street from, ultimately, it would have been 2025 to 2027, and that was only theoretical because you'd have, both the engineering and, the actual inception of the repaving in 2027, and that's unlikely that would happen. So originally, we were in 2025 to, with the engineering starting in 2023. So I spoke with, what's from LRPC?
Jeff Hayes?
Jeff Hayes, sorry. And, he seemed to indicate that probably the best thing we could do, perhaps, is to push it back to 2000, the original date of 2005, and work with, at this point, our executive counselor, Mike Ryans. So I called Mike, and we actually met last Friday. I think it was Friday, yeah. And we drove out Highland Street, and, he is fully aware of the extent of the problem and our desire. So I guess we'll follow up with him, soon to see where this is going to go. And also there was, perhaps some misunderstanding as far as how we would act as commissioners to LRPC, Lakes Region Planning Commission, and also the highways portion of it as well. So I did put a call in to get myself and John Randlett as far as commissioners, and be put on a mailing list so that we would actually find out what's going on, because we haven't seen any email since the inception of our change. And also to put Brian as the TAP, Brian Murphy as the TAP go-to person, and Joe as the alternate, which we have an alternate as well. So those changes are afoot, I guess. And meanwhile, Brian Murphy has been the only person that has been in contact with, their office on a routine basis. So I think we've got things kind of straightened out.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Do we have any correspondence? Nothing? Okay. Any public comments on items discussed on tonight's agenda?
Yes. I have got copies here. I did the phase one of the parking inventory. And the first part is general parking system information, industry standard parking design manual. And the rest is the inventory, and then the last page is some infrastructure issues I found that would impede our doing any quick parking lot spots because of the drainage system issue from Russell Street to Main Street, and the next year's a system upgrade by Water and Sewer. So this is phase one. I'm continuing on the parking inventory of the whole downtown system and look at our value of existing equipment and then the cost of the new smart meters and kiosk, and see what our proposal might cost to replace and enhance our parking revenues system. But this takes care of Main Street and Green Street and in between, and represents the village commercial zone. The rest of the zone of the downtown, there are 6 zones in the downtown area, but I'll be doing up to Langdon Street over the area that is represented on our unified map of the Plymouth municipal parking system. And to get that, that'll be next phase. So.
All right. Thank you very much, Frank. It looks like,
Frank, I noticed one, there are 4 users of parking.
Yeah,
People have mentioned PSU using those parking spaces.
they're the
too.
customers.
Okay. Thanks, Frank.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
I'm sorry, any other comments? No? All right, seeing no other comments, we need to go into a non-public. Do we have a motion?
Well, do we want to set up a hearing for the new proposed fines for
Parking ordinance,
parking ordinance?
public hearing for parking ordinance. I have to get the ordinance from Chief LaFave, but our next meeting is September 23rd, which won't give us enough time to set up the public hearing, but then Tuesday, October 15th, because Monday's a holiday, so that's the next board meeting, the first board meeting in October. So did you want to try for the first meeting in October?
Sure. And this is what he
Yeah,
passed
what
out to
time?
me, which is the new parking ordinance.
Tuesday, October 15th,
Yep.
it would be a regular board
Right,
meeting.
regular meeting, okay.
Yep. It's just the day after a holiday.
Does he have like a doc that he can send around, or?
I won't be able to attend that.
I guess so.
You want to give that to
15.
Kathy,
Probably
is that what
Kathy,
you
I
want?
guess.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we,
Maybe she can make copies, or
if
Scan it, or does he have to scan it?
Set it for the 23rd.
must, I'm sure.
we can.
Passed out a few
just
bunch
make sure
of
that
copies, I
we
just
have-
grabbed
We
one.
have the rest of the crew.
So he
That's,
cleaned up some of the verbiage and changed the fines.
Okay,
A lot of work there.
so this is the new one?
That's the new one.
Okay, good. All right,
So the date,
Brian just said he can't make it on the 15th.
Not gonna be able to be there.
and we are in October, correct?
Yes, so the next meeting after that's the 28th, a Monday.
I can make the 28th.
You know, or you can go ahead without me. I mean,
As long as you have a quorum. So either the 15th without Brian or the 28th with everybody.
What's the board?
Is it risky if we have one without Brian, or? Yeah.
As long as we have a quorum.
Yep.
I'd say go with the 15th.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we'll do that on the 15th, put that on the agenda. Have the
And we
hearing.
need 2 days, and then possibly we'll utilize the second.
You need 2 public
we?
hearings?
Yeah.
I remember there was discussion about that, but we may not,
Yeah.
if there's,
I'll let you know. I'll find out and let you know.
okay.
Because we could that way do the 15th and the 28th for the second hearing.
If necessary.
Necessary,
Yeah, yes.
okay. Anything else before we go into non-public? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we go into non-public in accordance with RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, A, personnel.
All those in
Second.
favor?
I'll second it.
Okay, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 See you, Joe.